Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about something that we all deal with differently, and that is bullies. Those who bully you secretly care about you, and I'm going to tell you why from my personal experience. First, I want to give a shout out to my very much appreciated Patreon members. I'm so grateful for all of my members over there, and if you want to get to know me on a deeper and more intimate level, definitely check out my Patreon. You won't regret it. So someone recently sent me an email asking me to create a video about bullies and how to cope with them. So in this video, I'm going to be telling you a story about a bully of mine that ended up wanting to become friends with me towards the end of high school, and what I learned from that experience. So I would say I was bullied a little bit more than the average guy from about elementary school up until the end of high school. People would make fun of my mannerisms, my voice, the fact that most of my friends were girls. A lot of guys didn't like that. And I just think that I was bullied because I stuck out so much. I mean, I'm from a very rural area, and a lot of the guys that I was going to school with just weren't dressing like me and didn't look like me. Like, they were just kind of showing up to school in whatever, and I would actually wake up early and take the time to do my hair and look nice for each and every day of school. And at this time I did have girlfriends. I wasn't out, but I knew inside that something was up with me. I knew something was different. I just couldn't exactly put my finger on it. And the thought of being into guys was a very scary thought, because every time I heard the G or the F word, it just sent chills down my spine. Even to this day, I still get super anxious anytime I hear that word out in public, because I automatically think someone's making fun of me, someone's talking about me, and it's because of all of these traumatic years of being bullied. The fear of being humiliated in front of others held me back from doing so much in school and throughout my childhood. So I was gradually quitting sports and losing my interest in them because my teammates were beginning to become unfriendly with me, and I just wasn't getting the same fulfillment out of sports that I once was. I also quit going to football games because almost every time I went, I was getting some guy coming up to me calling me an F word or a G word. And I would do my best to just keep my composure and not get in a fist fight and just act like it didn't bother me. But people could tell. People could tell. And I think the fact that people could tell made it even more exciting for them to come up and see me break down. So I just got really scared of the F word and the G word. I just don't know how to cope with that still, because all of those years of being humiliated and being bullied and getting called those words, it's kind of ingrained in me, and it sucks, but keep listening because I'm going to tell you how I've overcome this. Around this time, I also began hanging out with an older crowd. So when I was in middle school was when the bullying was horrible and just unescapable. I just started hanging out with high schoolers and hanging around with them after school, skipping practices, and being a bad kid. And gradually I began to get into more trouble and not listen to my dad and sneak out at night. I was never that type of kid until I started becoming rebellious, and it was all because I was being bullied. One of my most persistent bullies throughout school ended up wanting to become friends with me towards the end of high school. I say persistent bullies because he was one of the guys that would bully me every single day. We had just about every class together all throughout middle school up until I think sophomore year in high school. So we knew each other very well. He was friends with other guys that would bully me, and I would just avoid him at all costs. I did begin to stand up for myself once I got into 8th grade and entered high school, because I hit puberty, my voice wasn't so high anymore, and I was taller, and I just felt like I could defend myself if something happened. And I also felt like I was sick and tired of feeling like this and feeling like I'm always having to be on guard everywhere I go. So fast forward to 11th grade. We had a class together and we were sitting next to each other, and towards this time, I think all of us can relate that, towards the end of high school, people just don't really have the motivation to be mean to each other as much. Everybody's kind of in their own world, kind of focusing on what they're going to do after high school, college, work, all that jazz. So he wasn't as rude to me during this time, but we had a couple mutual friends, and he ended up asking me to hang out after school one day. I was kind of like, what do you want to do? Like, what is it? What? I was just taken back by it. And he was like, let's just hang out and go for a ride. So I didn't have anything to do that day. I think my other friend had plans, so I was like, okay, why not? So we met at the back of the school and walked to his truck, and we just drove around, and we were just talking about life, and he was going to the military after school. At this time, I didn't even know what I was doing 100%, so I hadn't gotten into ASU yet, so I didn't really know, but we were just having conversation. We hung out a couple times after this day, and it never really turned into like a real solid friendship. But I think that's because deep down I was closed off. He never really realized how hurt I was from the years of bullying that he caused me because of the front I was putting up. We hung out a couple times after that day, and it never really blossomed into like a real solid friendship. But he would come over with his four-wheeler, and we would ride four-wheelers in my backyard because I had one too, and I had a big old backyard, so it was just perfect. I did enjoy my time with him, but I could never forget all of the years of bullying from him and the way that he just made me feel every day after school for all of those years. I had to learn to put up this tough guy front just because that is what made people stop bullying me. Once I acted like I was going to do something if you came up and disrespected me, people quit coming up to disrespect me. I would hear things from like different people and rumors, but I never acted on those. I was never like, oh, I'm gonna find you after school, let's meet out front, I'm gonna beat you up. No. I just knew that he probably felt bad for all of the years of bullying, and he kind of couldn't bring himself to apologize for it. I do regret not forgiving him and forgetting the years of harassment, because that's part of growing up and maturing. You can't hold on to resentment your entire life because that causes other issues. And why would you want to give that much power to hate and to pain? I chose to do my best to move on from that situation and look at it from a different point of view. I realized that all of these years, he really wanted to be friends with me, but he couldn't allow himself to be friends with me because he was scared of being bullied, because he saw that I was being bullied, and he knew me very well. We went to school all throughout elementary school, and we graduated together at the same high school. That's kind of common in super small towns, but he knew me, I knew him, and we were very familiar with each other, and he knew that I was bullied. Because of the front that he was wearing, being on the football team and being very popular and having super hot girlfriends, he just didn't want to put himself in that situation. And I understand that now in hindsight. At the time, because I was in school, I couldn't allow myself to think from that point of view because it was my life and I had to go and experience that every single day. A bully is someone who habitually seeks to harm or intimidate others that they consider as vulnerable. And I realize that now. I was vulnerable at the time. He wasn't the only bully I had. I had a lot of girls that were bullying me as well. Girls can be just as mean as guys, and I think a lot of people forget that. Sometimes girls can be even meaner than guys, and I've noticed that as I've gotten older, but stick with me. Something I learned from this situation, the fact that he bullied me for all of those years and then wanted to be friends with me towards the end of high school, when we're all getting ready to go out into the real world, is that all bullies have been bullied themselves. In my personal experience, I remember becoming mean, becoming cold when this bullying really started getting bad for me. And that is not the right thing to do. But we're all human, and we learn through these trials and tribulations of life. Realizing that hurt people will help you move on from these traumatic experiences. I think most of us, if not all of us, have been bullied in some way or another. But holding on to that pain and suffering for your entire life is just so toxic to your body, to your health, to your heart. And once you release all of that, you can open yourself up to accepting love and more happiness into your life. People can see that, but if you're holding on to hurt and pain and resentment, people can see that as well. So an important lesson is to just forgive and try to look at things from a different point of view. Once you get a little bit older and, give the situation, whatever traumatic situation it was, give it some time to look at it from a different point of view and through a different lens. You might learn something about yourself and society as a whole. I definitely did. But I sure hope that I can connect with this guy one day, because I do regret not forgiving him and just putting my all into that friendship, because who knows what it could have turned into. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something from this. Bullies don't stop after high school. We're gonna have to deal with rude people throughout our lives, but knowing that hurt people gives you the power to let it fly over your head and not even bother you. All of those rude remarks and all of that, don't deal with it. Life's too short. Life is too short. I do enjoy sharing my personal experiences because I have learned a lot of harsh life lessons, but it's also important not to go into the past too much. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!